Oh, I'm happy. I've had too long of a break. I was just speaking to this evening's guest in our virtual green room and saying, I've been right lazy. I've had a real good break. Um, but I'm excited to be back. I've missed it. It took me a little bit longer than normal to get the place sorted because we've been constantly renovating. High G's. But I'm going to introduce you, without further ado, to this evening's guest, who we were chatting about. We were chatting about Norwich's best ever heavyweight boxer, affectionately in the green room. There you go, prize to anybody that can tell us who that is. I met this gentleman, we must be knocking on about 25 years ago for the first time. Shared some laughs, shared some beers, shared some encounters, and I then didn't see him for years. Met up with him again a few years ago, courtesy of another one of our guests, Mr. Kinnaird, at Dining Out a few years back. There you go. Before he's even in the room, Andy Holmes claims the prize. Of course, it was Herbie Hyde. Yes, indeed. Let me introduce you to the one and only Mr. Craig Neal. Good evening, sir.
How you doing, buddy? All right?
Yes, I am. I'm very, very well. Andy Holmes has come straight in there, no mucking about. He's like,
do you know the thing with Holmes is he never misses a do. He never misses a function. He never misses a party. He never misses an online thing. Right? That boy is always going to be the first in and last out to everything. How you doing, Holmes?
I think, do you know what? Before we even start, I think you should just tell everybody what you told me about your claim to fame with Herbie Hyde.
All right, so now he's named him. Yeah, I was just saying, I was saying to Pinky there, like with my only claim to fame with Herbie Hyde. Now I met him the same as him in Hyde's nightclub, but my daughter's had the same childminder as Herbie Hyde's son. We got a phone call from the childminder saying you might need to come around and sort your kids out because they've just kicked 10 bells of shit out of Herbie Hyde's son, and we were just talking there. I says, I must have battered down the hatches and everything, man. I tell you, like I was so scared if he was going to come round house and that and give me a right good braying. But yeah, so, I mean, she must have been about 4-year-old, something like that. Like, but he must have really nailed her, and she gave him the kicking of his life. So to be honest, she's kicked 10 bells out of more people than I have in my lifetime. I just thought she made it a good one.
And Herbie never visited you?
He never visited. No, he stayed well out of the way. He obviously knew his limits, didn't he? You know what I
mean? Yeah, he didn't mind getting in with Riddick Bowe, but he dared.
Nobody's going to come down Alton Road. Like, even rats have moved out. There's no way he was going to come down there in Horsham.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So we're going to talk about tunes tonight, then, aren't we?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But we mentioned Andy is on tonight. Pete Tuckerman's joined us.
I know where he's going to go in with this already. So if Tuckerman's on,
what I'm going to do, if it's all right with you, Craig, we've also Mark Kerslake's on. Mark Kerslake was suggesting the boxer might be John Thaxton. John Thaxton want a heavyweight. Mark, come on, you know that. Andy Hines is on. There we go. He says, loving this, guys. Hello, all. Thank you for tuning in. So what I was going to suggest was that anybody watching and listening, that I should say this at the beginning of every podcast we do. If you've got questions that you want me to ask Craig tonight, pop them in the comments. Somebody mentioned something when we scheduled it and said that I had to ask you. I'm hoping that it might be posted because I can't remember what it was.
I'm telling you now, it's Tuckerman.
I think it was.
It is, with the kazoo story. Yeah,
it was the kazoo.
Yeah,
you may as well just tell it now.
It was. Do you know what? It's one of them stories where you really had to be there, but at the time, it's funny. Where you literally we're down in Wales in the tents with Wonak, and I was just like kind of seconded in there with him and everything. But I was in the same tent as Pete, Craigie Gall, and all that like. And we'd been in Wonak bar and we had smashed it up that night. And we'd gone back to the tent, and it was at the point where we were finding absolutely everything funny. It don't matter what it was, if somebody farted, it was funny. If somebody, we were just giggling. And we got talking about music and whatever and bands. And I don't know where this conversation come from, but it was about who played what instrument and all this kind of stuff. And I ended up just belting out and saying, look, I want trusted with an instrument. You know what I mean? Most people get the triangle if you can't play a note. I was given a kazoo. And like literally, it was like that's all I was ever trusted to do, and it was annoying, you know what I mean? Because it was like sit back at classroom, you know what I mean, and just play kazoo and that's it. But while we were in that tent, and it was a point where we just found everything funny and you were giggling, and like literally, we'd kind of drift off to bed, like just sleeping, pissed up, and then next thing you know, you'd like tuck them and it'd be like. That'd start us off giggling again, and then Craigie Gall would start. And I'm not kidding you, it felt like we must have had about an hour's sleep by the time we got up that morning. Like, but it was just it hurt. The laughter hurt that much. Just never forgot it.
Oh dear me! Is it rib aching type laughter?
It's the one where you can't breathe. You can't breathe. You can't do nothing will stop. And it was just them two characters in there with that, and they just never let it go. It carried on all the time we were there. Like that's all I heard. Like,
yeah. Oh dear! Do you know what? I'm not actually having to do anything tonight, Craig, because our viewers are running the show. Andy Holmes has just said, if Sweet Caroline isn't one of his tunes, he's fucking lying.
There you go, mate. There you go. It's nailed, isn't it? It's in there in a oneer. It's my one and only. It's my go-to tune. It's my anything in the karaoke, anything with that. I will smash it up. I'll start a party up with it. I'll just belt it out. And even if somebody sung it before, I'll sing it better than them. I don't care. You know what I mean? I just absolutely adore that tune. It just gets a party started. Don't matter what it is. It just whips a crowd up. You know, and I love playing to crowds. You know what I mean? I don't like playing less than 500 in a karaoke. You know what I mean? I just love piping tunes out, and that's my go-to. Love it.
Yeah. It's also, and I don't know when this started. I don't know if you've ever gone to live boxing. They play it before every sort of big fight now. Like when Sweet Caroline comes out, you know that the ring walks are about to take place. And I don't remember when they started it, but they know, like you say, how to like whip up a frenzy. It just kind of gets you going, doesn't it?
It's the same as England matches. They do exactly the same England matches now. You know what I mean? After the final whistle, it just keeps the crowd going. Half time, it gets them going. Beginning of the game, they play it 3 or 4 times through England games and that, just to get the crowd singing and you just get the voices going. Yeah.
So that was your go-to. Look, what else would you sing on the karaoke?
Oh my God! Oh, I like a bit of Elvis. So I mean, here's one for you. I was in Leeds. I'd gone home, visit parents and everything. I was 18, something like that. And up in Crossgates there's a bar, and it's rough as asses. It really is. It's, you know, they give you knives on the way in. It's a shit house place. And so in this bar, and karaoke went on, like, and I don't know. For some reason, I picked up Elvis. Somebody wanted to sing Elvis, My Teddy Bear. Thought, I'll go with it now. You know what I mean? So gets up on stage, starts going in with My Teddy Bear, and it gets the instrumental bit. Crowd's all singing and whatever. It gets the instrumental bit, and I'm thinking, right, I'm just going to play at this. So I drops my lead, and I start swinging it. And I start swinging this mic. What, unbeknown to me, and I knew it, and after about one swing, it was one of them microphones that jack in bottom, because when I got its full extent of its swing, this microphone just went off the end of its lead, smashed this bloke in back at head in dance floor, and then next thing you know, there is the ruck from hell, and I was like, oh, this way, how can this go? And all I remember was the bloke who did karaoke give me another microphone, and he went, keep singing, it'll calm him down. I was thinking, I'm out of here. It just went mental, but. I'll try my hand at all. I like a bit of Delamitri. I like a bit of all sorts. You know what I mean? I love my 60s, love my 50s, 60s, that kind of stuff. I can't do all that modern jive and that.
Tell me more about so when this ruckus kicked off.
Yeah.
Did the guy who the microphone had hit on the back of the head not know it was you?
No, he had his back to. That's the thing with conversation. So there was a few watching. It was like, you know, it wasn't like they were all dancing about. You know what I mean? Everyone was singing, but people were all at different positions at bar. They were just in a bar,
Yeah.
And but this thing, yeah, it absolutely nailed him in back of head. And he just turned around, thought somebody had gobbed him, like turned around, punched bloke behind him, and then that was it. It went. And yeah, see you later. He bounces in everywhere. Oh my god!
And
So I
in
never
true
forget
Elvis
this.
style, you said thank you very much.
Very, very much.
When
Mic drop.
Elvis has left the building.
It's gone. I'm out of there. So yeah,
Oh,
but yeah,
fantastic.
I love it. I'll go anywhere. You know, like Pete Tuckerman will tell you. You know what I mean? Jailhouse in Lincoln. I mean, it is renowned in there. You know what I mean? There's a bloke in there who owns that. He looks like the Cowardly Lion, but he loves the Raff lads. And I remember going down there, and he'd shut up shop. It was a Tuesday night. He'd shut up shop completely. And he was just outside having a tab about 11 o'clock, and about 5 of us walked around the corner. We were like, "Oh, come on, Steve, let us in." He's like, "No, mate, I'm shut." I was like, "Come on." Next thing you know, lights are on, doors are open, karaoke's on, and half an hour after that, place is packed. And you know what I mean? It was just ridiculous. But yeah, Jailhouse is belting. I know Pete and Ange frequenting there. You know what I mean? Whenever they can.
So here's one for you. We're talking about when you were younger. And I quite often I ask people about what their dream job is as a kid. But what I thought I would ask you, just a slight twist on that. And it might be a job, but I thought, what was your, tailor the questions to the guests, right? What would you say was your wildest dream as a kid? So it doesn't need to be a job, but if you can think back to, when you were a kid, and that could be up to when you were 17, 18, but when you were younger, what would you say was your wildest dream?
Oh, I wanted to be a sportsman. I really did. I wanted to be. I wanted to be a pro rugby league player, and
Right.
My old man was a good player and coach and all that kind of stuff. And it was one of these things where if he keeps trying to drive it at you, and you know as I do, if somebody presses you hard enough, you kind of do a 180 on it, and then you start finding birds and boos and that, and you just don't kind of follow it up and don't do what you should have done. And so there's a little bit of regret in me when I didn't follow the guidance and go with that. So, I mean, the nearest I ever got to that was kind of like station level football and rugby and that. And I would never have been good enough, you know what I mean? I was never going to be talented, but the dream would have always been to be a top pro sportsman.
Yeah.
Which is all good until you start smoking at the age of 10, and then that kind of goes out the window as well, doesn't it? You know what I mean? But you know, you say what's a dream job, though, mate? I mean, from the age of 5, I wanted to join the Air Force. It's really weird. I went. A friend of mine, I used to go around and play around his house at 5, 6 years old. And his big brother came home and he went on leave, and it was a time when they used to travel in number ones. So, so I sort of I'm a 5-year-old, and I see this lad walking in his number ones, and I was just in awe of it. And from that minute there, I made my mind up to join the Air Force, and I never strayed from it, which is really weird.
Yeah, so that was it. Like through school, then you kind of had your mindset. There was that, wild dream of, one day that would be. And I think we all do, don't we? Want to be like, we want to be sports stars or like rock stars. And then, but that's cool. That from 5 years old, you knew that
Never changed from it. Yeah, my parents were buying me plane spotters books and all sorts. They wanted me to join Air Cadets. I didn't last long in there, mate. I lasted 2 weeks. Lasted 2 weeks in Air Cadets. Yeah, lasted 2 weeks. Just could not handle some 13-year-old running me around, because you turned up late or your boots were a bit scruffy and all like that. I lasted 2 weeks. Yeah. And this young corporal, what would he been, 14, and I was 13. 14, and he starts bullying and he starts chipping away. Like, your boots are shit. Start running around compound. They were on the second lap, and I thought, what am I doing? I'm running around to a 14-year-old. And on second lap, I just nailed him in mush, and I walked off. And I never went back. I was like, I can't. I'm not having this. This is literally glorified bullying. And so yeah, I never went back. And I've got to admit, when I went to the Careers Information Office, I shit myself because for some reason I thought they'd know what I'd done that day. And you know what I mean? Like they think that like there's a report written and whatever, and at CIO they'd know that I'd nailed this twat.
But there wasn't.
No, I know. There's a bit of me that wishes it was, but you know what I mean. But it won't. So that was the thing. I didn't last that long in there, but I always followed it up. And the worst thing is, I wanted to be a pilot as well. And like it's like the dream in it, to be a pilot. And then you shit at school. I didn't want to go to school. I hated school. I didn't turn up for alt fourth year. I think I went for 12 days in alt fourth year. I was grounded for nearly 6 months of my life. Like, you know what I mean? I just never went to school. I hated it.
Yeah.
So to come away with anything, like to come away with 2 O-levels at the end of that, and after not turning up for nearly a year was a miracle. Like, hence why I went for Scopy, because on the poster it was like work with the most sophisticated equipment in NATO, and then it said next to it how many qualifications do you need? It went nil. All right, that's the one for me. I am going for that bad boy.
So how old were you when you joined up?
I was 16. I literally straight from school. I just wanted out of Leeds. I needed out of Leeds. It was like things were going. I was knocking around with wrong lads. I think most of the lads that I were knocking around with within 2 years of me joining up were in Army Nick. You know, they were banged up and that. And I was with the wrong lot. And I was a bit of a sheep as well at the time. And I was like, nah, I'm out. So I went as soon as I could. And I went down to CIO and went for Scorpion. I went, nah, it's closed. Yeah, no, it's not going to be up for 9 months. However, if you want to join on a YTS, it's open now. So you can come and join for us. You can come and get £18.40 a week, and we'll open it now. And you're in. And if you don't like it, you can always remuster. You know, they sell the dream, don't they? If you don't like it, you can move aside. You can do whatever you want. And lying bastards. But anyway, they were just. So I did. I joined on YTS and ended up down at Hereford in September '87 is when I joined.
Yeah. Wow.
And we're £18.40 a week. Beautiful.
Do you know, I've had a few people on that were YTS. My good lady wife, she was YTS as well. I remember YTS folk arriving at camp and even at that age thinking, how can you live on £18.50 a week? But you did,
mate. I didn't, right? And this was one of the worst things, was having to go to some officer and salute him and thank him every Thursday while he puts £18.40 in your hand. And the thing is, Thursday, and then we go straight to Collishaw, straight to Bop, and I blow £18.40 in a night, gone. I didn't have a pot to piss in for the rest of the week, and the rest of the lads would they'd look after us, and I was smoking then as well. You know what I mean? Like a 10-pack were like 60, 70p or whatever. I didn't. I just begged and borrowed all week, get paid, and going from there. And then when I got signed on a year later, most of the people that had helped me out, I took them out in a weekend. We smashed it up, and I paid for everything. I did, you know what I mean? And I ended up in Collishaw Med Centre with alcohol poisoning. So I did a good job of me, saying, like, you know what I mean?
It was like,
it was dreadful. It was just, and it was weird because with YTS, with that, some people got signed on, some people didn't. Some people got back pay. I was one of the lucky ones. I got like a year's worth of back pay when I got signed on. And yet a lad that was same age, same thing. His birthday was 1 month different to me, and he didn't get a penny. A lad called Andy Clark that used to be at Neal with us. He never got a penny. So I just didn't work out where the rules were with it.
Yeah, Julie's on saying that her and Titch got £19.50. That was, they obviously put it up.
They were either in second year or whatever. They were older. I bet they joined at 17. That was 16 to 17, then 17 to 18-year-olds. It went up.
Ah, of course. Gee whiz. Yeah. Oh dear. Right. Let's move on to the second song, shall we?
Aye.
Because you know what will happen. I've had to watch myself because you know what happened. We just sit here and gab all night and not actually get to the songs.
It's too easy, isn't it?
So the second song is Chumbawamba.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah. Do you know what? I absolutely pulled that one out my arse. Do you know one of the hardest things you could ever say to anybody is give me 5 tunes with meaning in your life, because you could go into 40, 50, 60, 70 different songs of different genres, of different that all have some kind of significant meaning in you. But this was, to me, was like just this all encompassed 35 years of Air Force. It encompassed 35 years of just being smashed with everybody from day one to where I am now. You know what I mean? Yeah. I drink a vodka drink. Whenever we go out, the worst thing we ever do to each other is we always try and destroy each other. Don't matter what it is, best mates in the world. But you're always trying to outdrink the guy to your left or the guy to your right. And it's like, why we do it to each other? We should all be trying to see the night out. But we don't, because we're just idiots like that. But that's what I love about it.
Is this still the case now?
Oh God, yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, so Nick Mansfield, right? He first thing he says when he found out I was on this, his message is, "Oh, I can't wait for your podcast, fella. I think he's over in Vegas at the moment. I can't wait for it." He goes, "You better give me a mention." I was like, "Mate, I could fill an hour with just the shit me and you have done." So I was like, I can't do it from there. But yeah, I mean, he's one of the worst protagonists of it. You know what I mean? We'll outdo it. If you get this, we'll be straw pedoing next, and then it'll be in from here. We and him we did Red Flag, so we went on the Advon, and so straight on Virgin started drinking, and that was it. And we went all the way through. As soon as we get there, bags dropped, and then we were on it for first night frenzy. And I remember Dave Smathers, who was the deck coach at the time, he says, "Right, fellas, go steady. Tomorrow I want to see you at 4:00 in the afternoon, and we'll go through MT plot, and we'll go through all that stuff, and we'll get ready for the rest of the lads all turning up." Yeah, no problem. Of course, 4:00 next afternoon came and went. Me and him are still not in, and we've gone midnight, blah. And unbeknown to me, he's got a message. He's got a message from Dave Smathers going, basically, where are you? Where you go? And what I didn't know, and he didn't show me this message for another 6 hours, was he'd messaged #PVR. I'll see you whenever. Enter. Sent it to the Betco. He shows me this 6 hours later. I was like, "Mate, I've not PVR'd you bellend. You might have done, but I haven't. I've still got a bit of a career. This is your last tour and everything." And that's it. It got to a point like 50 hours later when we'd been supping, of just, I was floating. I didn't even know. My legs were moving, but I was moving around casinos and I didn't even know how it was happening. I was just in a world of my own. But yeah, he's one of the worst protagonists for it, of trying to put me on my ass.
It seems like a good time to ask you this question that I'd written down here, which was, what advice would you give to Craig joining the military?
Don't fall to peer pressure or beer pressure. That's it. Have your own mind and stop being a bell end and listening to everybody else and try to suck them to death. And you know what? The other advice would have always been, and it would have been, is remuster earlier. No, I wouldn't have done that. I love being a Scorpy, but it wasn't until I got to Waddle and I started seeing other sides like the M&A crew and all that, and the opportunities that were there, that I could have done. I could have done that years and years early. Laziness was one of the things, but the other thing was, I did love being a Scorpio. I love being in the trade, and I love the people that are in it. Like, even though I kind of turned my back and went controller after about 10 years, but yeah, I absolutely adored it, and I won't change a thing of that, to be honest.
Yeah. So take me through, take me through your kind of timeline, sort of high level of. So you spent 10 years, then you went controller after 10 years.
Yeah.
And then what's happened sort of since then?
Yeah. So out in Cyprus as an SAC, and I knew I wasn't going to get promoted. I'll tell you what, let's wind this back even further. I was in Benbecula at the time in the 89, 91, and I was an absolute pisshead. I was in so much trouble. I was getting charged left, right, and Chelsea. It was ridiculous, the amount of charges I was picking up. And in fact, me and a lad called Dave Elliott, we had a bet on with each other about who could be the first to 10 charges, and I won with a single do. What's that?
It's my question. I think that there's a few people that I've had on this show that I know that I'm going to ask how many charges. You were one. Andy Holmes knew. He was like, "I can tell you."
Ormsy absolutely outdoes me on these. I mean, one of the biggest ones had 28 charges to it, but it got mitigated down to 3 in the end. And all I got was 150 quid and a reprimand. So I'm like, I'm happy with that. But the difference being is, I got posted from there. I went to Staxton. I'm not going to give you the full précis of every posting. What I'm going to say to you is, one bloke changed my life forever, and it was a bloke called Dave Knight, who was the SOPSO at the radar at Staxton Wold. And I arrived day one, and my docket was like that, with all the fizzes I'd had up there. And he was the one that just looked at it and he went, "You know what, Craig?" He says, "You've got 2 choices now. You can either have a clean slate, or you can carry on like this being a dickhead." And he went, "But if you choose clean slate, this goes in bin and we'll start again." And he put it in bin and we started again. And a couple of years later, next thing I know, I'm like, I'm still never going to get corporal, because even though it's going to be a clean slate, I'm way behind everyone else. And that's why I applied for controller. I applied for controller with Chris Penteith. Even Chris Penteith looked at me when I was outside, and he was like, "Shut up, you div. what are you doing? Right? You don't want to be one of them nonces. That's what he's going on. I'm like, hey, I'm just applying for it. That's it. Because I think I'll never get corporal. And then, lo and behold, I get corporal, and then I get the controller. So 10 years after being a scorpion, that's it, controller. And then 2 years after this, one of my songs on here should have been, and I'll tell you in a second. 2 years after that, I get posted to the jet. Go to the jet. And I remember walking down Neal's Head at the top, on the top level, on my last day, singing at the top of my voice, I'm leaving on a jet plane. Right? I absolutely belting it out. And 2 months later, when I failed and I'd withdrawn from the course, I had to walk straight back down that corridor again. And I have never been dicked so much in all my life. It was the worst thing I could have ever done. It is be like that. And it took me 18 months to get back on the plane again. And to do it again. But ever since that, then, like 20 years I was on the jet. And literally, I went all the way through, just stayed there. And I loved it. I just did the little triangle of 8, 54, 23, just did the between them. And just kept, every time I got promoted, I just got moved to another squadron or got another role with FA or like that. And so I just stuck with it. And
take a commission. Am I right?
I mean, do you know what? Lee Shearer's got a lot to answer for with that. I was quite content. All I ever wanted to do was get to warrant officer, and I was content as well. And Sheepy had done it year before, and he pestered me. He was like, "Craig, why you've taught them all? Why don't you be one? You've taught every one of them." I was like, "I don't want to do it." Anyway, he almost filled the form in for me, and he's like, "Closing date is this. Just get it in." And I was like, "I don't know." Anyway, I did, sent it off. And 8 weeks later, flashed a bang. I'm a flight Louis. Like literally, it happened that quick. I just got went to Cranwell, did the test, did all that thing, and then 8 weeks later, I'm at Cranwell and I'm doing this thing. I'm there for 9 days, learning how to march again. Probably the most pissed up I've been in God knows how long. And because you knew you'd passed before you'd even got there, you know what I mean? And so I did it. Went straight back in at the same office that I'd left as a warrant officer 9 days earlier, and just. And then carried on, and I was quite content. I probably stayed on there full stop because at the time it was going to go on to 2035, and they pulled the rug on it. As soon as they pulled the rug, I ended up out here in NATO. So I'm out in Italy at the moment. Just hence the Vino Rosso.
Hence the Vino Rosso, yes. What is it? What have you got on the go tonight?
To be honest, mate, all you need to know is it's 14%. That's all I ever look at. I don't care. It's Nero di Avola, and it's only €4 a bottle. I'm like, come on.
Oh, Nero di Avola, yeah.
It's
€4 a bottle.
€4 a bottle, mate. I mean, it's like,
my God. Mate, it cost £10 for a bottle of Buckfast back in Scotland now.
Mate, I know.
Not that I drink the stuff, obviously.
Old habits die hard, Pinky, you know that, mate.
Oh dear. So that's it. That what a career, right? I'll fill some of the questions the gaps with some of these questions, hopefully. But there's one that I'm going to ask you right now. So to date, what would you say has been the happiest moment of your life?
Happiest moment of my life?
Yeah.
I mean, everyone goes down, you know, your kids being born and all that kind of stuff. But my happiest moment is probably €4 a bottle at 14% Diavola. From there. From there.
That is quite a win, isn't it?
It is. Do you know what? The happiest moment of my life. Becoming a dad, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it's seeing, and especially now seeing. Do you know what? Actually, I can actually pinpoint it now, and it was seeing my youngest daughter walk down the. I had to turn my back when she came down in a wedding dress, and that I got handed an envelope, and I wasn't allowed to turn around, and literally she'd come down the stairs in a wedding dress, and then I was allowed to turn around, and at that point, while I was doing that, I had to read what was in the envelope. And basically what she put was, I know I'm getting married, but you'll only be the only ever man for me. And I absolutely destroyed me. It'll destroy any man. And then I turned around and saw her, and I was like, I just melted. Do you know what I mean? And seeing your first child get wed, kind of thing. I think that's right up there.
Yeah. Oh, mate. See, it's nice. I love hearing that. You say people we say that, but actually hearing the story, it's lovely.
Yeah.
You can tell we're getting on.
Yeah, well, this is it. You know what I mean? I was going to be really smutty then, but I thought so. But yeah, so it's that kind of things now. They're the meaningful things. You know what I mean? It's like my eldest one, she gets her first house, and and just seeing what you've brought up from seeing them as a bundle of nothing, to now setting them off in the wide world on their own and knowing that they've done well, and they've not got 6 kids to 6 different dads. They're not drugged up to the eyeballs. They're not under a street corner. They've not got needles poking out of them. You think, as a parent, I'm a winner. I've done all right.
Yeah. I love it, mate. I love it. Okay, so here's a couple, and same kind of theme, but I'll be more specific because I know you're a big rugby fan, big rugby man. So what would you say from rugby league? What's your favourite match or your favourite rugby memory?
Oh, without shadow of a doubt, first time we won Super League, and we'd played against Bradford. We'd played against Bradford Bulls. And I remember we'd gone to the ground and we'd gone to this bar outside in Salford Quays before we went to the ground. And we happened to walk into a bar full of Bradford fans. And walked by, I said, I need a piss. I'm off to the loo. And as I went by, this bloke went, all right, mate? I was like, yeah. He goes, you're not lost? I was like, lost? I'm only off to the toilet. He's like, oh, no, I just wondered, mate. He says, because we get here every year to final, it's your first time. I thought you might be lost. That was him trying to be funny. Right. But trying to hunt that twat down at the end of it, when we'd smashed them, we'd won it for the first time. And the thing is, when we'd scored the winning try, Maguire had thrown the ball into the crowd, and our kid caught it, and we managed to sneak it out the ground. And basically, I had Sophie. She was about 9 at the time. We stuffed the ball under a shirt, under a coat, and then I carried her out the ground as though she was asleep. And even the doorman were like going, I was like, yeah, the day's taking it out. And we got the ball out. And so we were parading around with this in front of every Bradford fan. You know what I mean? We were just rubbing it in their faces like no one else. And we tried to auction it. And some of the families in that, the rugby players, Leeds Rhinos, their parents live around the corner from me, Dad. So they took it round and they managed to get it authenticated that it was the winning ball. Yeah. And they auctioned it off and they got about 850 quid for it. And that went back into East Leeds Rugby Club. So it went back into grassroots rugby.
Yeah.
So it was a good cycle round, like. But yeah, without shadow of a doubt, wiping it off them faces of them toothless Bradford. Yeah, that was it.
Are there any of your friends watching tonight, Bradford fans? I don't think there are there?
I won't invite them.
Oh, absolutely fantastic. All right, here's one for you. Standout. We've already spoken about loads of them. Standout, most hilarious moment of your career, except the kazoo, obviously.
Getting me commission. I mean, that's enough to make anybody laugh, isn't it? I mean, I'm a massive believer that if you promote enough quality, shit has to rise to the top eventually. And I think from a humour perspective, whoever give me the Royal Commission is laughing all the way to the bank right now. Yeah. Do you know, it all molds into one. I don't think you can ever put it down to one absolute blinder, because there's been times when we've gone out with lads or whatever, and you just don't stop laughing from start to finish. And yet you'll get up next morning, you won't have a clue what you were laughing about or what you were doing, but you just know you'd had a really, really good night. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's too broad brush for me, is that, Pinky? I couldn't really put it down to one, because I've had a good time in my time I've been in, and I just can't nail it down to one.
Yeah. Do you know what I love? And I love seeing them. We've had a number of guests on that are, still regularly going away with like small groups of their friends. Yeah. And you obviously, you're part of a kind of a small group that go away regularly. Mr. Beard's on tonight, and he was talking about golf. I think he was trying to get me to steer the conversation towards your driving or your
Oh,
overall golf game, or I'm not quite sure what.
mate, I'm shocking with it. I've only just taken it up, literally. In the last couple of years, I have only just taken it up. I couldn't hit a cow's ass with a banjo, but I thought, you know, the lads were all out there. They were like, let's go for it. And I was like, do you know what? Anything where we can just go together, and I'll try. And I've been going out quite often with Lee Shearer, and you know, just trying to get into things. And I've picked up a few tips, haven't we? Of course, we get there, don't we? And we start on it. And when Fairclough starts, you know, that's it, Neal, you're teeing off first. I mean, this is the Belfry, for Christ's sake. This is like, you know, this is where world stars are playing. And the place is that posh. You even get a steward that talks you through the thing, and then he watches you and he makes sure you go off on time. And the first tee is right outside the bar and the restaurant. So every man and his dog is watching the first drive off that first tee. And they start trying to get me. Craig, you're off. You're the amateur. You're the dick. We'll just, you know what I mean? There's no way you can hit this thing. I swear to God, I've never nailed a ball so well in all my life. I showed them the way, right? And it was like straight around, and you just forget where you are. And I was like, follow that, you, with a C bomb, right? And you just forget. And
How many people watching?
Oh, mate. Well, so obviously there's us, the stewards, but there's people at the bar that was watching. I mean, I don't know. I was concentrating on the ball, mate. I just wanted to make sure that this thing did at least got past the ladies' tee. That's all I wanted.
Yeah.
But the fact that this thing went the truest, straightest I've ever seen. After that, I was dog shit. I didn't care though. Didn't care. Not a shot did I care. But yeah, it was good. But I mean, Beardy will love the fact. Do you know what? I picked up as many balls as I picked Beardy out the bushes at end of night. So you know, we'll give it a rough idea with there.
Air Force's very own Happy Gilmore.
It was. I was dog about from that. I mean, them boys playing off all sorts. You know what I mean? There's some decent players in there. Stoner and Fluff and Stone. You know, it's not like Stoner to be competitive, is it? You know what I mean? So,
No.
but it's good. It's a good bunch of lads. It's good to get together. I mean, we're talking about going to Portugal in September, so we're all going out again. So it'd be good. Good to get together again.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, do you know what? I kind of I hope to entice a few more of the gents on for a chat. Obviously, myself and Beardy, we've been chatting and trying to organise this for ages, but I think work commitments and stuff like that. So you've kind of snuck in and got in there. Well, obviously Andy's been on.
Oh, I know Andy's been on, but that's the thing though. He set the tone then, didn't he? You know what I mean? And you know that boy's got a story for everything, and there's nothing that boy don't tell that isn't funny. You know what I mean? In whatever connotation it is, he's a storyteller, and so to follow suit from that, you know what I mean? It's like, Craig, how many charges have you had? Well, I might have had a few, and then he'd just rock in. It would just like mug you off the sky, like whoa, why did I bother talking? But yeah, it's good. When we did catch up on that golf, and we were, you know, obviously conversations going about, we're always reminiscing past and all. And the stories that are coming out there, which clearly I can't repeat because the stories there. But I'm like, this shit went on while I was at Neal, and I didn't even know it had happened. I was like, my eyes were up. I was like, Jesus Christ! I was like, I missed a serious couple of years there.
Yeah. Yes. Well, one other guest of mine, no names, reckons, and actually, if it's not true, he does a very good job of like playing the story well, right?
Yeah.
Mr. O'Neill, who kind of claims he doesn't really remember much about the 90s, and I tell you what, right? He either knows the 90s so well that he knows what stuff he doesn't know, or he genuinely doesn't remember the 90s. Because every time I talk to him and I mention about, do you remember when? Do you remember when? And he's like, no, mate, you're gonna have to tell me. I don't know. I don't remember that.
Do you know what? I mean, I can believe it as well because I remember it. I don't. You might have even been there, Pinky. When he turned up to give a brief, he'd been posted away and he come back. He couldn't give a brief, but he'd been in the officers' mess the night before, and he was leathered the next morning. Leathered. His shirt was all over the. I think he had 2 odd shoes on. He was just in absolute rag. He wasn't even in a position to this brief, like, you know what I mean. I remember Harry just wanting him to hide him, put him out of the way, like, because he was just. But I remember being out with Steve in Norwich, and there's some bloke selling Big Issue, and he just, I don't know, we'd had a few beers. He walked straight over. He went, All right, mate. Blow big issue. He goes, mate, got a 5-bedroom house, 2 en suites, 2 cars, massive drive. What's the fucking big issue? And walked off. Right, that was him straight in. I was like, oh my god, that kind of sets the tone for the night as well, doesn't it?
That's horrible, but funny.
Yeah. Steve in a nutshell, bless him.
Oh, crikey. Okay, should we do your next song?
I have to see what it was. I can't remember what it was.
Do you know, well, I'll tell you what it is.
Oh, right, yeah.
I think it's gonna it's Jim Croc. Is it Jim Croc?
Jim Croc, yeah.
Jim Croc and Time in a Bottle.
Yeah.
It might mean that I can stop laughing for a minute. So
yeah.
This is quite a meaningful, poignant song, isn't it? Like written right from the heart.
It is, because you've just got to listen to the words. And to me, it just fills me with regret. It just fills me with utter regret that I've not made the most of the time with the people when they should have been here. And it was like, and when I lost my mum in '94, and this just resonates with me all the way through, because it's just, I never spent enough time. I never did this. I never did what I should have done. I never went to go visit enough. And it just sat with me. And I can listen to it all the time. And the weird thing is, even when you're feeling shit and you play this song, you listen to the words, you cry your eyes out, you actually feel better for it. And it's really weird. It's a tough one. When mum went, and it was really unexpected. She was only 45 as well, like, you know what I mean? And it was like, I just remember being I was on nights, and just in the smoking area, when the smoking area was next to Diary's office, and just in that small little room, and one of the lads, Chris, came in and just went, "You need to go home." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Didn't say what. You just need to go home. Something's happened with family. You need to go home. So I goes home, and as I get in, and this is where you say you try not to laugh with this, but you can't help but do it. So one of my mum's favourite songs, and she loved Cliff Richard. And for some reason, Jeanette had decided that she knew I was coming home. She'd put a Cliff Richard song on for when I get in the door. So kind of set the mood, and then we could talk about it and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it was an LP. So what she'd actually done is she put the record on, and as I walked in the door, she dropped the needle on, and next to all you hear is congratulations. And literally, that just piled through the house. And I kind of broke the ice a little bit. So what news I was getting. I was like, fucking, only that could just drop on that song. Just mental. But yeah, so yeah, Time in a Bottle, just, it means a lot to me about everything, whether it be family, friends, people that have gone. You listen to the words, never spend enough time, just, friends from years in the RAF, I don't keep in touch. I'm rubbish at it. I don't, for all the best out in the world, WhatsApp's the best thing in the world, for keeping in contact, and yet I don't do it.
Yeah.
I need to be prompted with it half the time, which is a bit shit. So yeah, that's my thing. I'm shaking now. You know what I mean? You bring that song up and I'm shaking like a shitting dog.
But mate, I think none of us are getting any younger, right? And it's not the first time I've had this conversation with a guest on here. Yeah. There's too many of the people that we joined up with gone too young. And it does stop you in your tracks, whether it's family, friends, this community of those of us that have left and those that are still in, the years that we met, the years that our lives started to intertwine, those formative years, where the time in our life when we really kind of started to kind of become adults. Well, I say become, some of us at different rates, trying, but the number of people that that we knew back then, same age as us, that we've lost already. Each time it happens, it kind of, I think it stops us all in our tracks. And it's, it's no, I make no secret of it. It's why I started doing all this. It's because I think, there's been a few people that we've lost that I've that have really kind of hit hard. And I think, like you say, these songs like that I guess every time you hear that, it will bring back memories of, increasing numbers of people because we're not getting any younger, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
There
But,
we go.
but I just love a song. When you listen to the lyrics, and it just
Yeah.
it's basically all my. It feels like all my failings. So I kind of, if by reading that, by listening to that, I can kind of resolve it.
Yeah. Well, here it's almost. I've got this question written down. Great time to ask it. All my failings. What would you consider to be your biggest failure? And I guess more importantly, what did it teach you?
I'd say out of all of this, I think knowing how people have passed away, especially my age and all that, around my age and all that kind of stuff, is my failing is I put the raft before family.
Right.
I think that's probably my big. I always put the Air Force first, and it's probably not the one. In fact, no, that is my regret. I did that, and there's no coming back from it. It was like, I mean, I need to go somewhere. I'd always move my leave, or I wouldn't put any in on because I knew this was coming up, and I always seem to put the Air Force first. And knowing what I do now, I'm 180 out from that now. It's like literally, I'm gonna look after me. I'm gonna do what I want to do, and if it fits in with the Air Force, it fits in, and if it doesn't, then you know what? 35 years in now, but I've learned from that. But I wish I'd learned that 25, 30 years ago, or at least find a compromise, find that middleman. You messaged me that exact word, want it, compromise.
Yeah, that's
the compromise was always, I'll put the Air Force first, and for their needs and not for family. So that's probably my biggest regret out of all of it.
Yeah, it's the people closest to us, but it's like that they're on one side. You have that, and then but on the flip side of that, the thing that's made you the happiest in your life, it's the closest to us, the ones that make us happiest, that we make the happiest, but also that we're the ones that drive each other flipping crazy.
It is. It's one of the weird things, when they turn around and go, we're quite lucky with this kind of life because you physically have two families.
Yeah.
You've got two families that'll look after, that have got your back, kind of thing. So it's like you're torn between two best mates, in some cases, So yeah, I mean that's my biggest lesson learned.
But the thing is that there really is not anything else like that, and everyone that I've spoken to that's left will tell you exactly the same thing. I think in more recent years, I think for me personally, having found things that I genuinely love and have a passion for, and have started to follow them, is that actually I've realized as I've kind of moved in that direction, and the kind of people that I have started surrounding myself with actually begin to feel a little bit like family, a little bit, but it's not the same as like you say, that military family. There are people, I mean, the perfect example tonight, there wasn't, I don't recall any of those strange silences when we came on here. We haven't spoken apart from on Messenger. We've not spoken for since David Kinnairds doing. Before that, it must have been about 20 years, right?
Yeah, at least, yeah.
And you pick up. It's more than family in certain ways. There's a bond that it's just you can't explain to anybody that's not been in, right?
Yeah, no, agreed.
So what would you say? Because we touched on your career, a nice potted tour, but what would you say was your is your favourite tour in all those years?
I mean,
tour, posting, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, for sheer fun and seeing the world, it's got to be the E3 tour, because there's nothing that I've not seen and not done. And you go around as a crew and a team. But I'd say as a grounding, as a where we started, where it all began, and whatever, I'd say the Neat's Head tours in the early 90s, where the characters, before the Air Force drove the characters out, the ones that had any character, they seemed to just hate and get rid of. You know, and it just annoyed me. Or the ones that with character saw the light and just went, I ain't putting up with this shite anymore. But there were some really, really strong characters in that early to mid 90s. And so, like, just basically all the sport, the football, playing for the station, and that, like the strong lads that were in there. They're the two ones. So one for just getting everything out of the Air Force and everything that I've seen the world, which is what I joined to do in the first place. Yeah, it's got to be Century. But for sheer fun, and when you were at your peak of being in your early 20s and just having a great laugh, I'd say, it's got to be that 90s period at Neat's Head when Norwich was absolutely flowing. The characters, the lads were all there. We were all at our fittest peak of sporting. We were going off everywhere. Loved it.
And your next song was being pumped out loud in Ritzy's.
Oh yeah, Peppermint Park and Ritzy's. This thing was absolute shocking. I can't dance. I am absolutely pants at dancing. But I tell you what, I could bust some shapes to all this electro pop and all that kind of stuff. Like, I loved it.
You said when you sent me the message, you were like, you could have chosen any Oasis, Stone Roses kind of song, but you went for Ride on Time by Black Box.
Yeah. It's just because, I mean, it was all that high-pitched screaming as well. You were just all on the dance floor giving it some, like legs were shifting, and you never left the dance floor. You know, people would bring you pints to the dance floor because you didn't want to leave. You know what I mean? I mean, when you were allowed them on there, nobody cared. And you know, when you're in Ritzy's, when it's 50p a pint, you know what I mean? And you're just on it, and that thing's blaring out, and I absolutely loved it. And it was like the peak of the clubbing time, you know. And
when do you think? Could you put your finger on it? I think we should ask our guests as well. When do we remember, like, not being allowed to take drinks on the dance floor? Because in those days, you're right. I never would go on the dance floor without a drink. And was never told to kind of like, has it always been a thing and we just ignored it? Or did it kind of, did they just get really strict with it?
I think it's because, I think in them days as well, you could actually leave your pint lying around. Somebody wouldn't come and pick it up. You know, I mean, obviously, apart from us lot, because we were minesweeping. You know what I mean? That was it was 50p a pint, and yet we were still minesweeping. It was mental. But
I was great at that game. I was wonderful.
Yeah.
Do you know how good I was at minesweeping? I used to teach people how to minesweep.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's not hard, is it? But I got that good at it. I was like, right, listen. How ridiculous is that? And like you say, 50p a pint.
Yeah, I love it. But I don't know when it became a thing. To be honest, nowadays it's probably a good job, isn't it? You know what I mean?
I know.
Nobody can battle with a fist anymore. You know what I mean? The first thing to do is do it with a glass or whatever, like. So it's probably a great thing.
Yeah, to be fair, now it's a long time since I did any of that. You wouldn't now, would you? You wouldn't. Because you just.
To be honest, I don't even go on dance floor anymore. You know what I mean? You're at that age now. Even if I end up at a nightclub, which I actually don't, I don't ever try to go to. But if I end up at one because the lads are carrying on or whatever, I'm just propping bar up. You know, I'll literally just stand there at bar or stand at thing. And you won't get me on there that often.
Yeah. All right. Before we go on to your last song, I think we should. There's just been so many comments. I'm going to scroll up. I'm just going to read some of them out, just so that you can see who's on. So I think. You knew Andy was on, and Beardy was on, and Eddie Edmondson's on. Julie is on as well.
Test pilot, Eddie. I mean, there's something for you, isn't it? Eddie Edmondson.
Yeah.
AC is a fucking test pilot. What does that tell you about our trade, mate? It's unbelievable. That's what I love.
Yeah. Absolutely. Coral had a view on why Julie and Titch got more YTS than you. She said girls were worth more.
Oh, Coral, turn it in. I couldn't hear her because I thought Hoover were on at Coral's house. That's why I couldn't hear her. They're like,
Skip Hogan's in
Coral.
the house. Delta Mike, Mr. Large is in the house as well. Pob says hi. Ian Fowler. Who else? Raj is on.
Jeffrey?
Yeah.
Fucking hell, where's he come from?
And Gordon Clark as well. Oh yeah, crikey, Julie's shout out. She said Walnut Tree Shades. Do you know what Walnut Tree Shades? Do you remember, like, you used to drink certain drinks in certain pubs? Walnut Tree Shades, I always used to be remembered. And Matt Gray, and do you remember Matt Gray?
Yeah, no, Matt. Yeah.
He introduced me to whiskey sours, and I always remember drinking whiskey sours and Walnut Tree Shades. There you go.
Nice.
And karaoke. It's
weird. You talk about Raj, and every time I ever think about Raj, I just think he's putting Tiger Balm in our bleeding undercrackers when we play football or pissing on us in shower. That was his thing, wasn't it? You know what I mean? Just, it never ended. You get out bus, and next thing you know, your nuts are on fire. You're like...
I didn't know about the Tiger Balm, but someone else did tell me about that shower activity. Somebody that was none too happy about it.
But it was blatant. He didn't even hide it. Literally, hands round back at headlight, and just be like that going on you. Like he's marking his territory.
Oh, absolutely brilliant. Right, last song, mate.
Yeah, mate.
It's 4 minutes to 9. Can you believe that we've been chatting for 56 minutes already?
Jeez, I know it flies by, doesn't it? I know, tell me about it. And then you're gonna end up on the most miserable subject of it all. We should have changed the order of this.
No, it's fine, because I've got a few questions for you after this that will if the mood goes, it will bring it back up. I've done it before. I've done this before, mate. It's okay. I expect anything. But I have to say, I really like this song as well, because it resonated. It's King of Clowns by Neal Sedaka.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I absolutely love Neal Sedaka. It was one of my mum's favourite, my dad's favourite. Everybody just loved it. I mean, I still play it now. I've got all the LPs and whatever. But if you listen to the words of King of Clowns, it's just, for me, it just sits in my head that it's dealing with everything. Everything you deal with is humour, and yet you're just putting on that biggest facade of your life that you're just hiding behind it. You're just hiding behind that mask. You know, you're rocking to work every day, and everyone just say, you just be chirpy, and yet behind that mask, you're the most miserable bastard in the world. And the worst thing about it is you don't speak to anybody about it, and that's one of my worst things, is that I always put on I try to put on that happy, chirpy face, or whatever. But that song just it describes me in a nutshell. Of just trying to hide everything. Goes on, and like I messaged you. One of the things I've sat with was the fact that when I did find out that my mum died, I found out that she had something called Huntington's chorea, which was a degenerative disease which generally hits you in your 40s, and there's a 50-50 chance that every child that she's ever had would have it, and then there's a 50-50 chance that they would pass that on to their children, and so it went on, and we didn't know, and then one until afterwards we found this out, and so I sat with this for way over 20 years of just thinking, I've got it 50-50, if at 50-50 it's got to be, it'll be me. From there, every time you started going somewhere wrong with your head, or every time you forgot something, or you had a goofy moment, or you lost your temper, or whatever, I've got it. It's and you blamed it on it, and it got quite bad in there. Like, you know what I mean? It was I'd come on pissed and just be really upset about it. And Jay was brilliant, and it was just like, right, we'll go. That was it. I just adamant. I was like, I'm off for a test. 20 years later, I'm going for a test. Yeah. Yes, go for all this counselling. I lasted one counselling session before she went, you're adamant, clearly, just go for the blood test. Yeah. And the best thing about this, the good news is about this disease is, if you're negative, then that means it stops there. There's none of this 50-50 following down the chain, then that's it. Okay. So, so it goes on from there. So anyway, I was that adamant with this woman after one session. She basically sent me straight down to get my bloods done there and then. No, never mind this 3, 4, 5 sessions.
Yeah.
Straight down, got the test done, and turns out it was negative. But then you feel like a fraud. Then you feel like, it turns out I'm actually just a bell end. I'm actually just a prick. You know, and that was the worst thing. You almost felt like a fraud of it. You know, after all this 20 years, and you were blaming it on this, and then there's actually nothing wrong with you.
Yeah, or maybe another way to look at it, maybe, mate, is that not that you're a fraud or a bell end. I mean, a lot of people would say you were, but not for that reason.
I'll take that.
It maybe it just kind of goes to show that you're a guy that was brought up like most of us, in an environment where guys don't talk about things, and you know, we joined a career path where, you know, particularly the way to deal with any problems, any issues in your life is to apply humor, and deal with it in that and get steaming. Yeah. And so, you know, the sitting with it for that long was because that's kind of what you knew.
Yeah, we don't
right?
we don't know how to talk to people. That's the thing, when you know,
Yeah.
everything just gets bottled in and that. But yeah, so you know, that's the main thing out of that song. It just stuck with me because it was like literally two faces. It's your work face and your home face, and then you'd have your pissed up face. Your pissed up face would get rid of that facade, and all of a sudden your emotions would come out. So it'd be really, yeah, it was a constant cycle. But yeah, look, like I say, luckily I got the right result.
So, advice to anybody that's sitting with something in their head right now, or that
don't let it stew. Don't let it stew. Talk to people. It's the one thing I never did, and it absolutely twisted my melon. And it felt so much better once I'd done it. You know, the counselling didn't help because I was already adamant that it was going to be done. But the fact that, you know, when I was talking to people, it did actually just take a lot off, and it just removed doubt. That's the problem. People, when you've got doubt, you end up creating your own scenarios. You build your own scenarios, and it's like you've got a scar or a scab. You've got a scab somewhere. Next thing you know, you don't go to doctors for it. You start googling it, and when you get googling it, you find every single thing under the world that it possibly could be. You know, right from a scratch to cancer, and yet, if you're just going to go see somebody, you can remove all that doubt rather than having 20 different worry streams going off. Yeah. So yeah, speak. It's the one thing I never did, and I should have done.
Yeah. Are you more likely to now with things that, you know, that arise? Are you more likely to kind of, you know, get things off your chest now, knowing that?
Do you know what? Probably not. I've not learned, no, because it's almost ingrained in you, isn't it? It's ingrained as like you can just deal with it. You know, you're not just dealing it for you; you're dealing it for other people half the time as well, and you kind of take on their mantle and what their thoughts are, and which is wrong. You should just get rid of it. Yeah, I think I'm probably about 50% more likely to do it, but there's still a lot for me to learn on that one. And
mate, don't use those statistics. You said the test was negative.
Yeah, it is. No, you're right. Not 50-50, 70-30. We'll go with 70-30. Jobs are good.
I like that better.
Yeah.
Oh, right. So just before, we've got a few more questions for you. Stevie O'Neill's joined the party. He just said, "Craig Neal, love you, you bell end." What's Eddie Edmondson saying? He said he spent 6 months with DCMH in 2006, and it was someone else who spotted a problem. It saved me. Thank you for sharing your experience, Craig. Legend.
Bless you.
See, there you go. It's why we do it. You know, if it can help one person. Just based on what you said there, 70-30, still those odds. You got to do me a favor. A lot of people come on here and they went, I am never watching that back, but I still watch them back and listen to what people have told me. You should watch it back as well. Listen to what you said. Yeah, you've given yourself some good advice there for the future, should you need it. So
I'm always great at giving other people advice. I'm shit at taking my own.
Well, do you know what I've learned in the last few years? And I try to apply this, because we're all great at giving advice. But what I've realized is that the advice that you give other people not often, but more often than not, is the advice that you need to apply in your own life right there and then.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one. Try it.
It's
Next time you're giving someone advice, just think to yourself, could I apply that to me right now? It works.
It's deep, is this?
I know.
So I'm gonna revert you back to what was it? What was it? Oh yeah. Well, I'll still revert you back to song 5 then. That's it. Let's just put the humour back over the top of everything. Right? Just hide all your problems. We'll just whack it back into humour.
Yes. I like talking. You see, there's no escaping, and when we do this live, but it is helpful, cathartic as well.
Yeah.
Stevie O'Neill wants your number. Yeah, we'll sort it out, Steve.
Do not give Steve my number.
There you
Under
go.
any circumstance. No, I'm joking. Absolutely, I would love to hear from him. Tell him I've still got his book that he signed for me. And
well, that's one of my last questions. You've still got his book. Yeah, have you read mine yet?
No, I didn't order one, did I? Sorry, I didn't get one.
What?
I didn't get one. That's shocking. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you something for now as well. Right. So Steve O'Neill, right, when I was at Neater's End, he put his book in my mail slot. Right, like a copy of his book in my mail slot. So and he'd signed it as well. He's like lots of love, Steve. I've got it upstairs, right?
Yeah.
And whatever. So starts reading it. Then a couple of weeks later, he's like, "You got that money, Craig?" And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "For the book." I was like, "I thought it was a gift." And he's like, "Mate, these things don't sell themselves." I just give him a check for the book.
I'm guessing, was that the book that he wrote about the snooker league and following Everton for a season?
That's the one.
So he's written another one since then.
That's it.
Yeah, he's written like his biography called From Kosovo to Kandahar, A March Through the Ranks. Or, in other words, What the Hell, It'll Be a Laugh.
Yeah.
So he's done that. And the reason that I know that in so much detail is that this mate of him, that he got it published through this publishing house called Mr. Pinkster Books. I don't know if you've heard of them.
No.
There you go.
Yeah, game on.
Yeah. And in actual fact, again, true story. Not that, oh God, people will be tuning off now. Sorry, I'll stop. It was helping Steve to publish his book.
Yeah.
That then gave me the momentum to kind of and motivation to go, do you know what? If I can flip it, if I can publish someone else's, then get your finger out and finish the one that you say that you've been writing for years.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Do you like audiobooks?
It's the only ones I can do, to be honest, because I can't. I've not got the thing. I don't have the strength of my head to sit down and just flick through pages because I scan through and I just don't read things properly. So, yeah, they're probably the best thing.
You listen to audiobooks. I have a funny feeling that the Disappearing Scotsman might make its way to you soon.
If it makes itself on audio, I'll be happy with that. I'll listen away. I've got half an hour journeys backwards and forwards to work every day, so I'll be able to nail it, I reckon.
Well, brilliant. As long as you don't mind it being read by the author. If you don't mind me having me in your ear for 9.5 hours.
No, I think I've got Google Translate, so it's fine. I'll nail it.
Oh dear. Right. 3 quick questions for you and then we're done.
Go.
One meal for the rest of your life. What would it be?
Chicken vindaloo.
Oh, my man.
Jim Appel.
Yes.
I love taking my ass for a piss every morning. Beautiful.
Okay, follow-up question. What's the hottest curry you've ever eaten?
Chicken fowl.
And do you remember? Have you had it loads? Is there one?
No, I had it once.
Eddie Bud. Eddie Bud.
Eddie Bud ordered me. We were on we were down Magdalen Street, and I can't remember. It was a stag do. I can't remember. We were on a curry house. I remember because my brother-in-law were with us. I had to take him out with us, and we were in there. And for some reason, there was a jug of water under the table. I had this file, and I got into it. My face went off, and all of a sudden, this jug come over from under the table. And I dead forward, and next thing this jug hit me squared in the middle of the head. So my head's bleeding, my face is on fire, I'm piss wet through with water. Remembered it well. So Remember the chicken
My
farm.
my nephew has just tuned in and said, "I've just tuned in to love taking my arse for a piss every morning," and he's gone.
we need to put some context into that.
Oh, okay. 2 celebrities, dead or alive, that you could go for a beer with. Who would they be?
That's a bit deep, is that one? Eddie Waring, famous commentator, and he'd be another, and probably Pele.
Pele. Oh. As opposed to like Maradona.
That dick. Not having that. Only a Scotsman could pull up an Argentinian player in front of me, couldn't they? You know what I mean? Just can't have it.
Mate, I aim to please some people.
Yeah, straight
and to be fair, mate, it wouldn't be a pint with Maradona, would it?
Oh, no. It'd be, that is the reason why you're allowed or not allowed glasses on the dance floor.
There you go. We've answered the question. There you go. Right. So once all of this, you're over in Italy at the moment.
Yep.
And you've travelled a fair old amount, especially when you were working up on V3s, right?
Yep.
So, is there anywhere that you've not been that you would really love to go when you get a chance?
Hawaii. I've got this thing about volcanoes and all that kind of stuff, but my ultimate is to go with the See what I mean about booze? The orangutans in Borneo. I want to spend.
Oh yeah.
I just want to do 6 months a year just at one of them nurseries, just looking after the wildlife out there, and but mainly the orangutans in Borneo. That'd be my ultimate dream.
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that. Is there an affinity with like monkeys?
I love monkeys. To be honest, I love wildlife. You know, again, see that facade? Nobody'd know, would they? Yeah, just hide that shit. You know, and but yeah, just I love wildlife and hate dogs, hate cats. I think they're just I don't know, selfish bastards, them things. But you know, proper wildlife, I just love. Yeah. So yeah, I just love to go out there.
Brilliant. Well, one more question I want to ask. I kind of occasionally I'll ask people. We call this the JFDI podcast, and kind of came about just because we just can do it. Yeah. So what is there on the horizon or in the future that you could or would or are going to just fucking do it? Where do you? Yeah.
I mean, I've done 35 years now. I'm done. Yeah. I'm looking for other things out there. I don't know what. I haven't set my sights on anything. I just want to do something different, and I don't know what it is. But for now, I'm just gonna enjoy the fact that I'm in a NATO tour, and I've got a couple of years out here in Italy enjoying the vino and that, and we'll see. And if anything comes up, I'll drop this in a heartbeat and go and find and go and chase other things. You know what I mean? I'm over 50 now.
Yeah. How far, did we work out how far on a train will I be when I'm in Naples in the summer?
But you're about 5 hours. You're about 5 hours. 5 hours away, something like that. When are you there anyway? Because I've just found out I'm on a golf tournament in April in Naples. You're later on.
We're not out until July.
Well, I can get down there in July, mate.
And talking about we'll sort that out. We're going to say goodnight to everyone, but it turns out I see Portugal in your not too distant future, apparently.
Yes, you do. Yeah, you do. Yeah. So I've got obviously we meet up with the lads with the golf, and so yeah. I think
you're just saying you need to book your flight.
Once they get them sorted, I will do. But I've got to fly in from Italy to then try and join their flight. So when I can work out the connections, but I reckon I'm staying at Holmes's anyway at night before or whatever. So
brilliant.
We'll sort some out.
Well, listen, thank you so much for coming on and chatting to me tonight. We could do it for hours. I've absolutely loved it. Been fantastic. Last word for yourself. We've read out all of the names. Any final message for those that have tuned in? Just whilst you're thinking of that, I'll just read out a few more. Delta Mike said, "Top chat tonight, guys. Craig is still an awesome lad. My very best regards, sir." Raj said, "Great show. Top giggle. Thanks, Pinky and Craig." And there we go. Great podcast, guys. Thank you, says Beardy. And Julie said, "So fabulous to see your face, Craig. Great podcast." There you go. What do you want to say to them?
No, do you know what? And this is probably the only reason why I would have done this, not only to speak to you, but because of people like that. You know what I mean? They're our past, the present, and you know what I mean. And yeah, and this is why 30 years, 20 years down the line, and yet we're still popping up and talking to each other and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I love them all, and great to hear from them. And no doubt we'll bump into them at whatever. So there's going to be a top table. There's going to be a leaving do. There's going to be a smash up. I know. Well, in fact, yes. Are you talking about Clive's? Aren't you? Are you going down to Clive's?
Well, we've just put a date in the diary for October for a big knees up in the northwest. And it's just it's not a Buchan or a Nita Z or a Trade Group 12 thing. It's kind of, a never evolving kind of organically grown sort of group of folk that are now back in touch because of this and kind of so yeah, we've got something arranged. So anybody that watching and is interested in it, I think we're looking to do it. I've got the dates. I think it's the 12th to the 14th of October. So yeah, we're trying to sort that out. And then many more, like you say, it's top tables are great. It's that celebration, because if we don't watch out and we don't make them happen, then it's flipping funerals. And we don't, we want to make the most of the time we've got, so
no, exactly.
Let's close. We'll give Andy the last. I'm not the last word. I'm going to give you the last word, but Andy just said laters, you snoring wanker.
Do you know what? I have been the bane of his life every time we've stayed in the same room together. Honest to God, I've nearly. He threw a shoe at me last time. He threw a shoe at me, right? It's like this is how bad it gets. So yeah, bless him. But yeah, I'll see him in September when I'll bring me boots. Jobs are done.
I love it. Craig, Neal, it's been an absolute pleasure. Stay there just for 5 minutes in the green room. But for everybody that's tuned in, thank you very much indeed. And if I can continue to just beat the drum, if you've listened and watched the podcast and you want to hear some of the music that my guests have chosen, tune into regoradio.net at 7:00 on Friday nights, and I'm there spinning tunes now. So yeah, and you just like the chat, then we'll see you next week for another podcast. The guest list's starting to kind of ramp up now. We're back for 2022. There's another podcast next week, and as always, I'll be asking you, Craig, who you want to see on here, and I'd encourage everybody to kind of tell us who you'd like to see me speaking to on here. I love doing this. It's great having people on. I've had a blast tonight. Thank you all very much indeed, and we'll see you next week. Good night, Craig.
Cheers, buddy. Cheers, everyone. Great to hear you.